Do you, do you want to be able to, see it?
No, but I don't mind being standing down here. I don't need to.
Oh, okay, so,
There was a time when I could do it. I don't remember.
okay, so you know what? I'm gonna bring this down. Akil, would you, or Susan, would you? Okay, thank you. You want me to hold with you?
Maybe you could hold it because you're taller.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. All of you sitting over there and over here. If you close your eyes for one moment and imagine the sanctuary filled with people, just for one moment. And that is what it was years ago when I started here at Unity, where there was only standing room. And in addition to what Reverend Sandi just said, I would normally say there's only one presence and one power in my life, God the good omnipotent, and I am one with that presence and that power. And it's part of one of my mantras. So Reverend Maya wanted me to just reminisce about unity in the past. And I could spend the rest of the day reminiscing. So I have to make it as short as possible. Reverend Sandi heard some of it on Friday when we were out together. Thank you, Reverend Sandi, for accepting the invitation, and Susan as well. And I came here in 1994, but I was in Unity since a little girl, about 5 years old, when this woman and her daughter came to Trinidad, stayed at our place, and she came with a daily word and wee wisdom. And that is when I was introduced to wee wisdom. And as the years went by and wee wisdom came to our house every month, there was a fight to see who could get it first to read it. There was so much in wee wisdom, and I'm from a family of 7 children. So there was that fight. Coming to Montreal the second time around, I used to go to Unity in Trinidad as I grew older, and I met Jennifer, and we as neighbors, and we were talking, and it came to the daily word and things like that. And I said, I wish there was a Unity in Montreal. And she said, there is one. And she told me where it was. She said, I'm going to come and meet you and we will go to church. And the rest is history. I'm still here. And when I came, Marvin Anderson was the minister at the time, but he left shortly after. And one of his messages during that summer resonated, and it has stayed with me. And he said, you know, during the summer, you hear the motorbikes, you hear the noise because your windows are open and to get the fresh air and so on. And he said, noise is the dying vibration of a spent force. And that helped me to deal with noise. I didn't just only remember what it said, but when there was a lot of noise around me, it's only the dying vibration of a spent force. And then, of course, Yves Lafontaine came. And those were my days at Unity, where I learned the Unity principles. And not just learned it, worked at putting it into practice. And I needed it, even as I was here at Unity. It was all good. We had our struggles. I remember when Dr. Meyer came, we didn't have a proper working computer. And they bought one that was refurbished. I don't know if Dr. Meyer remembers that. And she stood up here and she said to the congregation, she told us what the computer cost, the refurbished one. She said, the church will pay off, and I'm asking the congregation to help with the rest of it. Well, that Sunday I went into the office and helped to count the money, and there was nothing extra. And in those times, Dr. Meyer came, she spent weeks with us, and then she would go back. And after she left, I went up there and I said, I would like to speak to the congregation. I said, Reverend Meyer asked us to do something, and I haven't seen anyone responded. I said, well, we are going to respond from today. And we started to raise funds, Women of Unity. I tell you, it's a long story and I can't give you the whole story now. And the Easter Sunday of that year, she had asked us to put $450 or something like that because they had paid, the church had paid. The last thing we did was to have a raffle. And I remember the person who brought the oven, the countertop oven to raffle. And that day we were able to give the office from all we had collected and raised $950, more than what Dr. Meyer asked us. The rest is history. We did a lot of barbecues. Women of Unity was very instrumental in the work we did. Susan is here to say, yes, it's true, and so are you. We went through a lot of struggles. It was not easy, but for me, I never left, because this is where I got, and I'm still getting, my spiritual food. Regardless of what happened, I never left. It was not about what was happening. It was about what I was learning and working at putting into practice. The sanctuary may be empty now, but I trust that those who were here and those who are still on planet Earth with us, that they're using the principles that we learned. I am still using it. I use it with my friends. Divine Order is one of them, and they use it too. And I'm doing the best that I could, and I just love you. I love Unity of Montreal. I put my heart into Unity of Montreal. I did lots for Unity of Montreal, and I'm still doing what I could. I went from helping to clean the church on a Friday morning after I went to the gym. I would come and clean the sanctuary. Then Susan was doing it. Donna used to come and help me. And when I was here, she would come and she'd wipe the chairs. And that all is a part of the history. Marjorie is a part of the history too. Marjorie was doing the garden at one time. For those who don't know, she was doing the garden. And it was about love. And love is really all there is. And I bless you with that this morning. Thank you so much. And I forgot to thank Dr. Meyer, because one of the things that I always say, that in spite of everything, she did not let these doors close. We were determined to keep Unity of Montreal open. It is still open, and we have to say thanks to to Reverend Meyer. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you. Thank you, Akio. Thank you. So today's lesson, no stress, no strife. Just wondering if you think that's possible. So I'm gonna move this back just a little bit so I can see all faces. I can now. So most of us live in daily stress. For years, we have lived in daily stress, striving for one goal or another. And what if life could be stress-free? What if it could be? Wouldn't that be something? And you would still have success and all your needs met. So what if you could be happy right now, regardless of what's happening in your life? Is that possible? I'm going to tell you a little story. about when I was first in the licensed Unity teacher program. I had just begun my studies. And I went to a retreat. I was in Hawaii at the time, went to a retreat at a monastery and far from the city. And oh, the grounds were absolutely beautiful. We're talking about lush tropical environment here. And there were streams and trees and small waterfall, ever so beautiful. So at this one particular class, the instructor suggested that we take a walk with God out in this beauty of the nature of Hawaii. And she wanted us to feel the presence of God. So I walked out the door and it's like, oh, I want to feel the presence of God. This is going to be so cool. I think I'll feel the presence of God when I go down to that stream. That's the perfect place to feel the presence of God. So I go down there and I don't feel the presence of God. Maybe if I dip my toes in the stream. So I dip my toes in the spring and it's like, I'm still not feeling the presence of God. Maybe if I go over to that tree. So I go over to the tree and give it even a hug. And still it's like, oh, I don't feel the presence of God. What's going on? What's going on? I was trying so hard to feel the presence of God. And we had an hour in which to do this. And finally, feeling like very unsuccessful with the assignment, I headed back a little bit early. And when I went to go into the classroom, the door was locked. And so it's like there was a little grassy knoll not too far away. So I thought, I'll wait there. So I go and sit on the little grassy knoll and I feel the sun just shining on my face. So nice. And a cooling little breeze was kind of brushing like a feather my hair back and on my skin. And oh my gosh, that was so luscious. And all of a sudden, I became aware of the presence of God. The presence of God was right here, right now. I had been striving and stressing to feel the presence of God. And what was the problem? Why wasn't I feeling the presence of God?
Running everywhere to find it.
I was running everywhere to find it. Yeah. What else besides running?
You were stressed.
I was stressed, I was searching, but it was a mind game. Do you get that? In my head, I got to find God. I got to find the presence of God. I got to feel it going on and on and on and on. When the entire time it was there. So today we're talking.
Just like you did on the normal, you stop, you pause, and you allow.
Yes. So you can't be heard down there for this recording, but I stopped, paused, and what else was that? Allowed. Stopped, paused, and allowed while sitting on the knoll. Exactly.
And comes to mind is be still.
Be still and know I am God. Yes.
Searching and sort of frantic. There's no stillness.
No stillness in the frantic searching. Thank you, Anna. That is so true. So I've heard people take great pride in saying that they can't stop their thoughts. They have so many thoughts, like it's a wonderful thing. And here's the little secret. We all have a freight train of thoughts going through our heads, right? boom, and boxcar after boxcar after boxcar, with all our baggage going by in our minds, one after another, nonstop. And so what we can be proud of is when we master our minds, when we master our thoughts and our emotions. That's when we can speak with pride. I can still those thoughts. So we're going to talk for a moment about quantity over quality of thoughts. So Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now, said vast amounts of consciousness are trapped in useless and compulsive thinking. I'm going to repeat that. Vast amounts of consciousness are trapped in useless and compulsive thinking. You're going, what? You're saying I have useless thoughts? There was a 2020 study using fMRI brain imaging to identify periods of continuous thought. And the estimated rate from that study was that we have anywhere from 6,200 thoughts to 60,000 thoughts a day. But according to the National Science Foundation, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. Anybody been in a thought loop? Sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, worried about something, and boy, as soon as I become aware, oh my gosh, I'm in a thought loop. It's like, well, he said this and that, and my answer was this, and I should have actually said that. And then all of a sudden I do the same exact thought again. And then I do the same exact thought again. Anybody have that experience? And then I go, oh my gosh, I'm in a thought loop. Well, I don't have to repeat that 10 times. I don't even have to repeat it a second time. I need to get out of that thought loop. So what is the value of an empty mind? So there's a story, maybe you've all heard it before, about a learned professor who travels to a famous Zen master to learn more about Zen Buddhism. And so during the visit, the professor is talking about all that he knows about Zen Buddhism. Meanwhile, the Zen master is pouring him a cup of tea. And as he pours the cup of tea, this professor continues to talk about all that he knows about Zen Buddhism. And then the master is pouring and the tea is overflowing in the teacup, going into the saucer. And the professor says, it's full. It's full. Stop. No more will go in it. And the master says, the Zen master says, like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? And so, what do we bring to any given situation? Do we bring a full cup where nothing more will fit? Or do we bring an empty cup where we may receive, there's room to receive greater knowledge? So there's really, when you think about it, we know so little. We know so little. We have data. We have programming since the day we were born. That's when it all began. And we think that we have all the knowledge that we need, you know, and when really what we don't recognize is there's vast amounts of knowledge beyond what's in our little heads. No matter how smart your brain is, no matter how much information it retains, it doesn't even begin to know a universe full of wisdom and knowledge. You know, we could actually learn from angels. Now, maybe not all of you believe in angels. I do. And there's vast spiritual knowledge available from angels. If only we would access that. I don't know how many of you know of the Akashic records. So there's vast knowledge there about our personal journeys and about this entire planet. We can access that if we will allow ourselves to learn how to do that. So just know that when we are off, you know, thinking we already know everything and we don't have to expand our minds, well, you don't have to, but you might be making a mistake. So here's something new to learn, and we can only learn new things when we are an empty cup, right? Otherwise, in that cup is same old, same old. So author Michael Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul, had a mystical experience. Now, he is very interesting. Anybody has read The Untethered Soul? Okay, a handful. Okay, I highly recommend it. He's also been interviewed by Oprah, and one of my favorite interviewers is Mayim Bialik, who actually is an actress, but also a scientist. So just in case, she was Amy on Big Bang Theory, just to give you some context in case that matters. So she's my favorite interviewer because she's young and has incredible questions that she asks her guests. And so she's interviewing Michael Singer, and he talks about his mystical experience. So he was going to university and studying to be an accountant. What program is that called when you're? MBA. Thank you. That was where he was headed when he had this mystical experience that changed his life. He realized that all he had to do is surrender his entire life to higher power. And that's what he did. He dropped out of university. He bought a property. And on this property, he built a temple. It was rough hewn. Now, he hadn't studied architecture or anything, but he was the kind of person who, when he wanted to do a project, he would do his own research. Now, this was in 1975, before computers. So he constructed this building that he called the, where is it? The Temple of the Universe. That's what he called this building. Well, one day, and so he had a hippie lifestyle. So he describes himself walking around on his property with, he's barefoot, no shirt on, and a sheriff car comes onto his property. And so the sheriff gets out of the car and he says, who's in charge? And Michael Singer said, well, me, I guess. He says, who built that building? And Michael Singer said, well, I did. And the sheriff said, well, would you build an addition onto my house? And Michael said, okay, And so began his very first company, and he named it Built with Love. So after that, more clients came to him asking him to build things for them. Then he went and got a Radio Shack computer. Remember Radio Shack and those old timey computers? What he wanted to do is write a accounting program for his computer. So, for this new business Built with Love. And so he figured it out, made a program, and then some other people discovered about it and they asked him to write programs for them. So he studied, he learned how to do it, started writing actually medical record programs. And in time it grew and he sold the company and became a millionaire from that. So his story is about no stress, no strife. He is totally surrendered his entire life to God. Now, he's not lazy, you don't get that. He went about his business doing what he loved to do. And then, lo and behold, opportunity was dropped in his lap. And he said yes to opportunity when it dropped in his lap. That didn't mean that he always had full knowledge of how to get it done, but he was a man who was willing to do research, learn, and then know how to take advantage of opportunity. So he also tells one story, which I think is amazing. So he was actually with a potential client. They were having a conversation, and when they came to an agreement, this potential client suddenly went back to square one. And this man did that 3 times. Now, Michael Singer is going, I'm not going to be in this thought loop again, you know. He says, so he told the potential client, I'm not the person to do this job for you. And if you want to come back later, then please do. But right now, we're done. Well, what happened was somebody else from that company came and offered a better proposal that he accepted. So he was willing to say no to something that wasn't working. It just wasn't working. And so to me, that gives us, or that's a fine example of us being able to say, when we have our full trust in God, when we've surrendered our lives to higher power, when something isn't working, we don't have to persist with that. We can say, no, I'm not your person for this job. We surrender everything to a higher intelligence because God takes care of us. God wants us to succeed. And if we would just get our egos out of the way, probably success would come more readily, and maybe even greater success than we ever could have imagined. So now the question is, how do I empty my mind? How do I get that freight train out of there? How that monkey chatter, just blah, 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 10 times, same thought. Well, so there's lots of answers to that, but I've given you a few keys since I've been here for, this is the 9th week, I think. So how to empty the mind. I've given you Ho'oponopono to clear, a method to clear your consciousness. Now, will your consciousness be cleared with one application of Ho'oponopono? Anybody? Yes or no? No. It's a technique that needs to be practiced several times. if you really want it to work, to use it as a technique, you need to learn it, ingrain it, so that every time something comes up, you use it to clear your consciousness, to come back to a clean slate. That is the purpose of Ho'oponopono. And it takes practice, doing it over and over and over again. Now, it's better than being in the thought loop, because we're thinking about the same old thing over and over and over again. But if you will practice Ho'oponopono over and over again, you will have a shift. Okay, so last week I actually talked about the importance of being aware of your emotions. And I even gave you a worksheet called the Emotional Vibrations Tracking Chart. So this was an opportunity for you to track your emotions for an entire day for 6 days, to know where you hang out emotionally the most. That is important information. Are you enjoying most of the time? Are you happy most of the time? Are you worried most of the time? And of course, we go in and out of a variety of emotions, no doubt about that. But where are you the most? Because we all know about the law of attraction. And I'll tell you what, if you are in a low frequency emotion, what are you going to attract to you? Somebody, what are you going to attract to you when you're in low frequency emotion? Huh? Yeah, low frequency. If you're in a high frequency state of consciousness, what are you going to attract to you? High frequency, right? And so if you don't like what you have attracted to yourself, know that you can change that. But it takes awareness. Awareness. And that's why we're here, to learn, to be given tools that you can use to change your life. Let's see. So, and then meditation. Oh my goodness. So the Unity Center of Montreal offers 6 times a week at noon an opportunity to be in meditation, a wonderful tool to clear the mind. And in fact, we're going to be ending this lesson with a meditation. So, but I want to talk for a moment about being in the now. So here's another tool. So Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now talks about how, and we know this truly, the past, there's nothing that can be done about the past, right? It's done. And so if you are allowing yourself, your thought processes to create guilt and resentment and anger and regret and self-pity, ooh, guess what you're attracting into your life as you immerse in those emotions? More of that, and people like that, and situations like that. That's what the law of attraction is about. So if you don't want those kinds of situations and you don't want those kinds of people, guess what? You get to elevate your states of consciousness into higher states of frequency. So Eckhart Tolle said about the future, stress is caused by being here, but wanting to be there. Or being in the present, but wanting to be in the future. It's a split that tears you apart inside. Here, there. There's the split. And so if you surrender your life to a higher intelligence and you are in the now moment, you don't have to be split. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to be concerned. You can just be in the now, building your little temple, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not talking literally. Whatever that looks like for you, and giving thanks that God is taking care of your every need right now. So let's observe our thoughts. This is another tool, observing your thoughts, like observing your emotions. So here's a little test. When I ask, how is your daughter or son? What kinds of thoughts and what kind of feelings come up right now? And if I ask you, how are the grandkids? What thoughts and emotions come to mind? If I ask you what you're going to do after church today, where do your thoughts go? To your tummy, maybe? Mine too. If I ask you, what do you think of my country's president? What thoughts and emotions come up? You all know what I think. It's like frowny face. Sometimes it brings me to tears, as you know. When you think of someone who brings you great love and joy, what are your thoughts and feelings? So in the course of just a couple of minutes, maybe your feelings have been all over the map. This is why we get to master our feelings, so that our feelings and thoughts don't master us and put us all over the map. So we want to learn how to have neutrality so that when something comes up, we can remain neutral. And that's when we can have a quiet mind, allowing higher intelligence to give us guidance, right? So right now, in this now moment, not thinking about any of the things I threw at you, but just breathe deeply. In this moment, you are safe, are you not? In this moment. In this moment, you can feel peace unless you're thinking of something else from the past or the future. But right now, you are safe and in a place of peace. So let's go into a meditation. And I've done this meditation several times before, using body awareness to quiet your mind. So I'm going to ask you to be aware of your breath. And I like to invite you to put your hands on your bellies, because we're going to start with belly breath. Having deep breathing really makes a difference. And a lot of us do shallow breathing. So you want to feel your belly move, and it extends out. It expands as you inhale. So inhale, feel that tummy go out. And as you exhale, your tummy goes in towards the belly button and pushes out the air. Okay, inhale again, belly breath. Exhale. Inhale again. One more time. Now continue with your belly breath, but you're going to put your attention on what you see behind closed eyes. Do you see patterns, colors? Maybe you just see gray. That's okay. What do you see? Just spend a moment observing what you see while keeping your attention also on your belly breath. Now, listen for sounds in this environment and just observe it. Isn't it interesting to have no judgment, to just hear the sounds and be in neutrality? Now, what do you feel? Be aware, starting at the top of your scalp, and just go down through your physical body, aware of whatever you might feel. Are your eyes relaxed? Your eyelids, your brow? Is your mouth relaxed? Your lips? Your jaw, your tongue? How are those shoulders and neck? Your chest? Your back? How's that back? How's your upper back? Your middle back? Your lower back? If there's pain, just notice it. If you have an itch or a tickle, just notice. Don't be reactive and scratch. Just notice. How's that belly? Still breathing? How is it to sit in the chair? How are your thighs, your knees, your calves, your feet, your toes? Just have awareness. Notice how during this meditation, Your thoughts weren't all over the place. They were in neutral, just observing. And that's how we want to train our mind, to be the observer. So now go back to your belly breath. Your awareness is on your belly, on your breath. Good job, everyone. When you're ready, just you might want to stretch, wiggle toes, fingers, feet. When you're ready, open your eyes. How did it feel? Did you have an empty mind?